Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because I can. And I continue with the Forgotten City, Blind. Now, supposedly, there's a monster down here. Which, you know, if there really is, I might be a little screwed, but... Oh, they're in fact... There in fact really is peeled statue. So wait, so is it one of those people that... Okay, I don't think this is an effective mode of combat. It seems to stagger it more than actually damage it. It seems I would need an actual weapon to combat that creature. So I'll probably be back later.
What now? Whatever.
Who lives here? Octavia's chest. Note to Octavia. I'll read it. An anonymous friend to Octavia, may the Lord bless and keep you. I am sorry I could not really risk discussing this with you in person, but if I'm right, then you're a believer like me. You may not be able to worship openly here, but know that you're not alone. If you ever feel like you need somewhere to pray, there's a special place waiting for you deep in the caves, behind the theater. Turn right at the first fork, and then again at the second. Okay, I know that place, because I found it. It's a Christian praying place. Okay, I don't want to steal their money. I was more interested in reading their correspondence and such. A sculpture of Minerva, the Roman goddess of strategy. Well, strategy and wisdom, generally, I think, because Minerva is pretty much Athena.
On your best behavior, I trust.
A new face, Ave, and may Vesta watch over you. I'm Equitia. To what do I owe the pleasure of this visit?
What's the status of the election?
It must be completed by dusk, just the same as any other official business. It'll be between Sentius, the incumbent, and Malleolus, the challenger. Why do you ask?
What's your role in the election?
I'm responsible for announcing it and making sure the procedures are followed.
Who's allowed to vote?
All of the male citizens who are willing and able to attend, unless they're running, of course.
The women can't vote?
That's just the way it's always been, I'm afraid. It never sat right with me, either. There are some women who can vote, Vestal priestesses like myself, but in this case, given my role overseeing the election, I've decided to abstain. I can't allow the perception that I'm being anything but fair and independent, but if it's any consolation, there are other ways to influence the outcome of an election.
Such as?
By using whatever gifts the gods gave you. Nothing untoward, of course.
Can I nominate another candidate?
You can, assuming they're eligible and willing to accept the nomination.
And can I vote?
All of the male citizens who are willing and able to attend.
Can I vote?
Well, you're not a citizen yet. So, no, I'm afraid not. But if it's any consolation...
Let's talk about something else.
Certainly.
What do you think about the Golden Rule?
I'm quite sure it's the work of the gods. Which is strange because they've never been particularly concerned with our misdeeds, as long as we've kept the peace of the gods. We asked for blessings, for good health, bountiful harvest, military victory, and in return, we offer praise, wine, incense, or animals. But here, it seems they require much more of us. I find myself reminded of an especially pertinent tale from our great poet Ovid in his epic Metamorphoses. Would you like to hear it? It is rather long.
Why not? I have time.
Wonderful. It goes like this. Baucis and Philemon were an old married couple living a humble life in a small town. One night, the town gets a visit from a couple of vagrants. They go from door to door, asking for a place to stay the night. Of course, being vagrants, they're turned away sharply from house after house, 1,000 in all, until finally they come to the little cottage where Baucis and Philemon lived. Now the kind old couple had very little to offer, but nevertheless, they invite these strangers into their house and offer them food, wine, and a place to stay. Immediately, the guests make themselves at home. They begin gulping down the old couple's wine, so much so that Baucis, the old lady, begins to worry they're going to run out. And then she notices something strange. Her wine pitcher keeps refilling itself, as if by magic. Realizing only a select few possess such powers, says to her husband, Philemon, "I think these men are gods in disguise." Immediately, the couple begins apologizing for offering such coarse wine, and the vagrants metamorphosize and reveal themselves to be Jupiter, the king of the gods, and Mercury, the trickster god. They confide they didn't mind the meager offerings. They were just pleased that someone in the town offered them hospitality. Then Jupiter says to them, "You have passed our test, but everyone else in this city failed, so we are going to destroy this place and everyone in it, except you, who we will grant a wish." So old Baucis and Philemon escape up into the mountains safely, and they receive their wish, which is for eternity together. Meanwhile, Jupiter carries through with his threat and wipes that city off the map. Some say the moral of that story is that we must all honor the sacred rituals of guest friendship, the reciprocal obligations owed between hosts and guests. But I like to think it's that we should always show compassion for those less fortunate than ourselves.
Or perhaps it's that the gods might kill you at any moment for failing their test, and then they don't even have to tell you what the rules are. Yeah, that's kind of a fair observation if you take a look at, because, you know, without the context of this game, I would probably agree with her, but I've already seen that happen, so, you know, it's kind of a shit move.
Philosopher might take that view, but it's not entirely invalid, I suppose.
Do you know a way out of here?
I don't, I'm afraid. It seems to me we're exiled here until the gods judge us, one way or another.
What's your story?
Oh my, I take it people are quite direct where you're from. I suppose it's quite charming in its own way. Usually, however, you wouldn't simply march up to a Vestal priestess and without due formality or courtesy ask, "What is your story?"
Well, what should I have done?
The proper approach would be to arrange an introduction through a mutual acquaintance in high office. by which time you would already know how to address me. And then you would find a way to satisfy your curiosity rather more indirectly. But to be honest, I've often thought what an unnecessarily formal way to communicate that is. So, let's do it your way. You just keep being yourself and ask whatever you like. It'll be a refreshing change.
Well, so, what is a Vestal Priestess?
You really don't know? You are from far away, aren't you? Well, I am one of the priestesses, charged with keeping the sacred flame in Rome's shrine of Vesta burning. I take it you know who Vesta is?
I think she's the equivalent of Hera, like the goddess of hearth and home, or whatever. But remind me.
Vesta is the mother goddess of hearth and home, and the guardian of the Roman people.
What do you do here?
Put simply, I tend to the temples, ensure their sanctity is preserved.
Why?
Why? So that we continue to honor our gods, invite their blessings, and not bring their wrath down upon us, of course. It's vital that we keep them appeased and remain in their good graces.
How did you end up here?
You know, I'm not entirely sure. But what about you? How did you end up here?
A young woman named Karen dragged me out of the river and sent me in here.
Karen, you say? And nothing about that name seemed odd to you?
Well, it's an older name, but not uncommon where I'm from.
Older. I see. I wonder if... No.
And what were you going to say?
I apologize. I don't mean to be cryptic. It's just that you've got me thinking. Have you spoken with any of the others about how they arrived here too? I really think you should. Go around and ask them what they
yes,
mean,
and
see
actually,
if you notice any patterns.
Actually, I wanted to talk about that. I'll do that.
Good. Thank you. But please be careful. I just don't want to see what happened to Livia happen to you too.
What happened to Livia?
Up until a few weeks ago, she was a perfectly productive member of our little community, darning clothes and cutting hair. She was always so chatty, always seeking out newcomers and asking them where they were from and how they wound up here. And then, about a month ago, she suddenly changed. She withdrew, stopped working and became despondent, started muttering to herself. Galerius and I visited her to see how we could help, but she just looked at us with this haunted stare, called us bloodless shadows, and told us we were ignorant of some pattern. Look, it could be unrelated. Perhaps she simply fell ill. Or, as Galerius suggested, the weight of the Golden Rule was too much for her. But there is a small chance that she learned something, saw a pattern nobody else saw, and that it broke her. I just don't want to see that happen to you. So be careful, will you?
I'll be careful.
Thank you. Now, go and follow the thread of truth through this labyrinth, and come back to me if you discover any patterns.
I'll see what I can do. I've been asking people about how they wound up
Did
here.
you notice anything? A pattern?
Well, apparently it's not enough people yet.
Oh, well then. Keep asking people how they wound up here. Come back to me once you've acquainted yourself with the rest of our neighbors.
But at least a couple other people said that they fell into the river and then they were fished out and wound up here. And the same thing happened to me. So, and also, the name Karen, when she heard that, she had like a reaction. So, like, is this afterlife? Like, are we in like purgatory? Because we might have all died, and then the river and the name Karen. It kinda sounds like Karen, or Haran, or to be honest, I'm not entirely sure how you pronounced it in original Greek. But I mean the ferryman of the river Styx that ferries you into the underworld. There might be some kind of a connection here, like maybe she's known under slightly different names to different people, and that's why she thought she recognized the name, because it sounds like Karen. That's a sort of a working theory about what might be happening here.
Name's Rufius. Better watch your step.
Who are you going to vote for?
Meliodas. Not sure I trust Sentius. Couldn't even protect his daughter in a city without sin. How's he going to protect us?
Anything I can do to change that?
No.
What do you think about the golden rule?
I'll tell you this much. I hate the fact that my survival depends on the common sense of other people.
I've lived through a pandemic. What do you mean?
I mean, all these people just bumble along like nothing's wrong. Well, we're one bad decision away from being wiped out. Like the last lot of people who lived here. Seems like I'm the only one ready for what's coming. Whatever that is. And when it hits, it's everyone for themselves. You've been warned.
What do you think is coming?
I don't know. But did you ever get the feeling some of these statues are watching us when we're not looking? Like they're waiting for something. I don't like it.
Well, I think you're right, because I literally hear them speaking to me sometimes.
Of course I am.
Do you know a way out of here?
If I did, do you think we'd be having this conversation?
What's your story?
Can't talk long. Got to stay sharp, but... family's from Seleucia on Tigris. Babylon province. But I've been roaming a long time now. Even joined the legions. The 6th. The one they call Ironclads.
Not much of a talker, are you?
If you were dealing with what I am, you wouldn't be either.
What are you dealing with?
None of your business. Introiti ipsum commensula.
Why don't you have a weapon?
Magistrate made me toss it in the chasm. Stupid. Going to have to improvise now.
Why are you still wearing your legionary armor?
Because we're all in grave danger. Is it not obvious?
How did you end up here?
Same way as everyone else. If we have to.
Well, I'll be going.
Whatever.
Okay, I take it this is the forum. That's the hospital, I guess. Collection of barbaric-looking medical implements, including forceps and shears. The mortar and pestle haven't changed much in the last 2 millennia. A wooden rack containing various dried and ground substances. Statue of Apollo, the Roman and Greek god of disease and healing, among other things. Also art. He has a harp.
What are you doing in here? Can't you see this woman is dying? She's been poisoned. She needs the resin of a plant called silphium, but that Culas cubulates Decius won't give it to me.
I'm sorry, I wish I could help.
too late. She just slipped away.
What happened?
She was poisoned. She came in here frothing at the mouth. Normally, I'd treat her with resin of silphium, a rare plant which is perfect for this sort of thing. And I knew Decius had some at his market stall, right around the corner. So I ran over there, but he just looks at me with this evil smile and says, "That'll be 1,000 denarii." There was no way I could afford that, and he knew it. Then that toad shrugs and says, "Supply and demand. I guess you don't value your friend's life that highly." Anywhere else, I'd just pay a thug to steal it from his stall. But there's no way I can do that down here with the golden rule. So all I could do is come back here and just watch her die. I kept on apologizing. And now I'll never know who poisoned her, or how they managed to do it without breaking the golden rule, or why she cursed that snake's cruel black eyes with her dying breath.
Is there something I can do to help?
Well, unless you have the power to bring someone back from the dead, there's really just one thing you can do. Get me that silphium resin. I'm going to have another patient in here soon. Could be in the next day, or in the next hour. And I will not allow this to happen again. I don't care how you get it, but you have to make it happen. Because if I lose another patient this way, I swear to the gods below, not even the golden rule will stop me from marching up to that genetricum fututo and scratching his eyes out.
I'll see what I can do. Can we talk about Yulia?
Sure. What do you want to know?
Do you think she was poisoned, or was it self-inflicted?
Do you really want to know? I mean, if somebody poisoned her, then surely they would have broken the golden rule, and so maybe it's best we don't discuss it.
Do you know what poisoned her?
Hemlock, I believe.
Is there any reason why she might have wanted to die?
I haven't seen her in months. She's not allowed to leave Malleolas's villa, and they are quite secretive. Gladly.
I keep hearing the statues whispering. Is that normal?
Oh no. Sorry, I don't mean to worry you, but no, that is definitely not normal. There was one other person who claimed she could hear the statues talking to her. But that was Nevia, and she went a little mad.
Forget I said anything.
Anything about what?
What do you think about the Golden Rule?
A city without sin might sound good on paper, but whoever dreamt it up didn't think it through. Maybe it was an attempt to create some kind of utopia. But snakes like Decius will always find loopholes to exploit. And what can we do about it? Absolutely nothing. In some ways, we are worse off because we can't take the law into our own hands.
Do you know a way out of here?
I wish. Some people here need proper medical care, not the half-baked, hanging by a thread excuse for treatment I'm giving them. Just don't get sick or injured here. I'll do my best to treat you, but I'm out of my depth and dangerously short on everything you can imagine.
What's your story?
I'm Lucretia, and I'm going to be straight with you. I'm not a physician. This is Nevia's clinic. I've just been filling in ever since she disappeared. I'm tired and out of my depth and miserable all the time. But I'd rather take this on myself than let one of you lot mess it up.
Tell me more about Nevia.
Well, she used to run the clinic. She was a midwife, not a physician. But she was the closest thing we had down here. And she was good, too. Until she suddenly lost all interest in us. One day she told me she'd made some profound discovery about the golden statues. This changes everything, she kept saying. But I had no idea what she was talking about. The last time I saw her, the last time any of us saw her, she was muttering to the statues, like she could talk to them. And then she shut herself in the palace, barred the door from the inside, and nobody's seen her since. She's been gone so long now, we figure she's either dead or up to something so strange that she doesn't want anyone else to know about it. But I really wish I could reach her, because that's the only hope I have of solving a troubling problem. A real thorn in the paw situation. One of my patients is suffering from terrible rheumatism. His joints are inflamed and he's in constant pain.
Who?
I really shouldn't say. He wouldn't like it. And he's a little bit scary. He's become so irritable that the smallest things set him off. And I worry he'll end up losing his temper and lashing out. And you know what that means. I just know Navia would know how to treat him, assuming she's still alive. But nobody seems to know how to get into the palace.
I'll see what I can do.
Thanks, I suppose.
So,
I'm Lucretia, and I'm going...
why are you working out of a shrine?
Oh, this shrine was in use as a clinic long before any of us arrived here. Kind of strange to set up a clinic in the temple of the god of disease. But the god who inflicts a curse is also the only god who can undo it. So I suppose praying to Apollo for healing kind of makes sense.
How did you end up here?
My husband and I moved to Rome from Caesarea. He embraced the Roman way more than I would have liked and turned into an awful philanderer. I would have divorced him and demanded the return of my dowry, but I knew he would sooner have me killed than give me my right. So I waited for the right time to take what was mine and disappear. And then the fires came. As he prepared to evacuate our villa, I gathered our most precious belongings, coins and gemstones, and the moment his back was turned, I ran. I could barely see for the smoke, and the streets were full of people trampling each other. I ran for the river, like everyone else, and leapt in. The next thing I remember, I was waking up on a riverbank, not far from here.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's all right. Say what you will about this place, at least my fornicating husband will never find me. And while there's no shortage of snakes here, at least with the golden rule, they have to try to be discreet about it. Gladly.
I'll be going.
Well, come back if you get sick or injured. Day or night, I'll do what I can.
It's nice to hear. And I might be able to afford that cure eventually, because, you know, I keep picking up money, and it seems I keep it even throughout the loops.
Greetings and salutations. Greetings, I'm Georgius. It gladdens me to see another foreigner in our midst. We must stick together, you and I. And I must say, my sartorial friend, your clothing is most extraordinary. Leather boots in place of sandals, trousers with precise stitching, and such a curious design. I have traveled distant trade routes from the markets of Damascus to the farms of India, and never have I seen anyone dressed quite like you. Tell me, I must know, from which exotic part of the world do you hail?
Well, I'm from beyond the edge of the known world.
Then you are an explorer, like me. Wonderful. You must have many stories to share. I cannot wait to hear them. We will have much time here to get to know one another. But for now, do you require assistance? I know you do not require clothing, so information perhaps?
Who are you going to vote for?
That, my friend, is quite the dilemma. But after some reflection, I'm leaning toward voting for Maleolus. I do not enjoy the thought of another visit from Domitius if I voted the wrong way.
Anything I can do to change that?
Nothing comes to my mind, my friend.
Well, getting rid of Domitius would probably help. Or at least incapacitating him in time for the election, so that... Any idea who's threatening Virgil?
This is troubling, is it not? I'm afraid I have no idea. It is ridiculous, though. Virgil is a fine man. But my young friend Fabia confided in me that she saw someone leaving graffiti on his shopfront last night. Perhaps you should ask her about it.
What do you think about the Golden Rule?
Ah, yes. The many shall suffer for the sins of the one. As a Greek, this is nothing new to me. It is how our gods operate.
Why do you say that?
Have you not heard the tale of the god Hades? He was the first to learn this dreadful lesson when he abducted Persephone and imprisoned her in the underworld. When Demeter, the mother of Persephone, learned of this, she did not punish Hades, the guilty one. Instead, she changed the climate of Earth so that it became hot and dry. Nothing grew. The grain turned to empty husks and the rivers dried up. Innocent people died by the tens of thousands until at last the other gods were forced to act, lest they have no worshippers left. So yes, we know this rule. This has always been the case. The Golden Rule has merely brought it into focus.
What can you do about it?
If we are to survive, I say we must each heed the simple wisdom of Thales of Miletus, first of the 7 sages of Greece, who said, "Avoid doing what you would blame others for doing."
Well, sounds simple enough.
It does, doesn't it? But it is not enough for us to do this alone. For even if 99% of us adopt this principle, that will never be enough. Sadly, no matter how well we protect ourselves, the life's work of many good people can be undone in the blink of an eye by a single selfish act.
I know. I've seen it happen.
Ah, the voice of experience. I am sorry for your loss, my friend. But on a lighter note, I will say one thing for the Golden Rule. For all their grim and haunting poses, these golden statues do make magnificent models for my clothing, do they not?
Do you know a way out of here?
Shh! Not so loud! What are you playing at?
Well, did I say a wrong thing?
Have you not been told about the last attempt?
The last attempt?
Oh, then I suppose this duty falls to me. It is a long story.
Well, why don't you tell me?
Of course, the first question any of us asks when we first arrive is, how do I escape? It is only natural after all. And scaling the chasm wall is out of the question, for it is simply too steep and too far. But as they say, if the wind fails, use the oars. And here the second option is to leave the way we came in, through the shaft above the bathhouse. See, the shaft is quite high, but if one gathered up enough wood, one could make a series of ladders and climb one's way out.
Why hasn't anyone done that yet?
They have. I am getting to that. There was an attempt, made by resourceful fellows who lived here some years ago. They even decided to keep records of their escape attempt for posterity. Unfortunately, as soon as they began to carry the first ladder down the hallway, they heard a godlike voice shake the entire city, and that, tragically, is where their tale ends. So it seems that to merely attempt escape is to invite the wrath of whichever god oversees this place. And so I say, it is best to not even discuss it aloud.
Got it. So what is your story?
My story? How kind of you to ask. I am a tailor and I run the humble shop in the forum.
Why set up a tailor shop here?
You mean to say, with all the turmoil and terror of the Golden Rule, and so few customers, why bother setting shop at all?
More or less.
I'll tell you, it is precisely because of the Golden Rule that I wish to remind my friends of the importance of looking one's best. I say, the more of our customs we preserve down here, the more we can preserve a semblance of normality, the better our chances of keeping our heads. Don't you agree?
I suppose so.
Oh, and there is another reason too. If we all end up as golden statues for future generations to marvel at, I don't know about you, but I would like to look my best.
Fair enough. How did you end up here?
A good question. A very good question indeed. And I would be happy to tell you if only I could remember it clearly myself.
Why don't you tell me what you do remember?
I remember I had just been to Rome to sell an extraordinary selection of wares, and drowning in coin, I decided to celebrate my success. I rented a prestigious villa by the Tiber, invited over a few select friends, and we began making our way through some of the most exquisite wine money could buy. Quite a lot of it, in fact. Now, I have had visions and awoken in strange places before. I have even found myself naked in the desert sands more than once, but none of that compares to this. This time, I remember people screaming, then falling into a void as empty as time before creation, gasping for air, and then nothing. When I regained my faculties, I was lying naked by the banks of the Tiber, gods know how many miles from my villa.
So you floated down the Tiber?
Indeed. I'm lucky I was carrying a little extra weight. I believe it kept me afloat. In any case, it seems I'd been rescued and resuscitated by a benevolent stranger. I went to find firewood for his campfire, stumbled across a cave, and discovered that trapdoor temple. And here I am.
I am not entirely sure ancient people would have known the term resuscitation, but, you know.
Anything you like. I hope that our paths cross again soon, my friend.
Anything interesting inside your shop? Dyes for coloring clothing. These appear to have been extracted from plants and insects. Okay, well, I don't want to steal his money.
Greetings and salutations.
Okay, I still may have some time before the end of the day. I'm working on it. Okay, that's a bakery. A circular loaf of bread designed to be pulled apart into wedges. It appears to be freely available to anyone who wants it. Oh, that's cool. Not sure why they are giving away free bread. A stone mill. It looks like flour and grain are poured from above and ground between the stones as the handles are rotated.
Salve!
Oppius the thief stole my purse, and whoever wrote this did not get to finish.
Salve, stranger, and welcome to our idyllic little slice of the Empire. I'm Dacius. Terrible shame what happened to Yulia, but we just have to carry on, don't we?
I need some silphium resin.
Certainly. All I ask is a reasonable price of 1,000 denarii.
You're price gouging life-saving medicine. What is wrong with you?
Oh, it's perfectly legal. Simply a question of supply and demand, I'm afraid. Take it or leave it.
Well, I'll gather enough. Eventually. I don't have that kind of money.
Very well. Perhaps I can interest you in something within your budget?
Who are you going to vote for?
Malleolus. I mean, Sentius couldn't even keep his daughter safe. What hope does he have of protecting us?
I'd like you to vote for Sentius.
Not going to happen.
Any idea who's threatening Virgil?
I don't, I'm afraid. But I did overhear Fabia telling Georgius she saw something. She was headed to the baths not long ago.
What do you think about the Golden Rule?
It's terrible for inflation is what it is. There's so much gold just lying around, it's practically worthless. At least down here. Of course, I have an idea for generating real wealth, but what I need is a bow. Just a simple composite bow. I've scoured this city from top to bottom with no luck. But if you happen to find one, bring it to me and we'll talk.
I have arrows, but not a bow. Hasn't the magistrate banned weapons?
Oh, well, technically yes, but that just means you'll need to be a little discreet.
I'll see what I can do.
Thank you, friend.
Do you know a way out of here?
I'm afraid not. If you're desperate, I did hear that Aurelia down at the tavern claims to know of a way out, but I'm not sure I trust her. Some people here are a little shady for my liking.
Thanks, I'll keep an eye out for them. Really, I hadn't noticed.
Oh yeah, gotta watch out. Old Dacius has got your back though.
What's your story?
You mean how did I end up here? That is a lengthy tale.
Let's hear it.
Alright. Well, you see, I'm in the business of procuring rare and precious objects liberated from the enemies of Rome. Mostly sculptures, vases, the occasional slave, fetch a magnificent price in Roman high society. Had myself a nice little shop in Rome just off the Forum. Lots of foot traffic and close to the docks. Good place to be when the fires broke out. See, about 7 months ago, half of Rome caught on fire. Everyone who couldn't get to an outer gate was running for the river, open to escape by barge. So I gathered my coins and some priceless vases into a cart and had my most loyal slave girl, pretty young thing named Acantha, push it for me. All the way down to the river, I'm elbowing through a stampede of people, turning back now and then to make sure she hasn't legged it with my valuables. But, to my surprise, we make it, and I see this barge loading up, and it's so full it's almost sinking. But the captain's happy to take my coin, so I start boarding, and then he puts his hand on my chest and he says, "No, too heavy. The cart or the girl." So I did what anyone would have done.
You chose the cart, didn't you?
Of course I chose the cart. I mean, I can always buy a new slave girl if I still have my money. So I put my hand on the cart, and I guess she realised what was happening because those pretty black eyes of hers go all wide. And in one swift motion, she topples the whole bloody thing into the Tiber.
So you took her with you after all? I don't think so. I think I know where this is going.
Naturally, I dived in after it, hoping to salvage my fortune. Only, I guess I must have hit my head or something, because everything went black. When I came to, I'd washed up on the riverbank, not far from here, with nothing in the world but a single silver coin.
Some people mentioned a coin. Well, I had a coin as well, actually. Right? The one that I was using to choose my gender at the start of the game. Sounds like you got what you deserved.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, sure, I'd lost a few thousand denarii, but I've already made it back, and this place is a veritable treasure trove. Look around you. There must be more gold in here than in the treasury of Rome. If I can just figure out how to get it out of here.
I'll be going.
Very well. Another time.
Yeah, so my working theory is that we're all dead, and this is purgatory of sorts. Because the stories line up far too perfectly. Decius's chest locked.
Salve.
Sinner. Peccator. I didn't finish talking to you.
Salve, and welcome to our little community. You arrived on a sad day, friend. What with Julia's death? I wish we could have met under better circumstances.
You didn't finish your story, I don't think.
Well, I'm an architect. Help out with repairs and...
Tell me about the city's architecture.
Gladly. Personally, my favorite thing about this place is the aqueducts. Those series of adjoining arches. They're an ingenious feat of Roman engineering, with a very practical purpose. They take fresh water coming from outside the city and distribute it all across the chasm. It's funneled below the palace and into a cistern beneath the great temple. Some of it flows down into another cistern beneath the villas, and the rest is funneled to the shrine of Proserpina, where it fills the lake, and allows us to fish and farm.
If they bring water into the city, could we use them to escape?
Hey, not so loud. Just talking about that could anger the gods for all we know. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you'd have to find a way inside somehow. Just, please, try to be a bit more discreet about it.
Tell me about that temple on the bluff.
You mean the Great Temple? This one's a bit of a mystery. Given the way it's positioned so prominently, looking down on us, it's clear that whoever built it felt it was the most important temple in the city. Unfortunately, someone else went out of their way to keep its purpose a mystery. You see, usually a temple is dedicated to a particular god, like Proserpina or Diana or Apollo. Usually, that god is obvious. But in this case, it's unknown. There's an obelisk out the front, which probably used to bear the name of this unknown god. But it appears some barbarian defaced it. And of course we can't get inside because it's locked up tighter than the Temple of Saturn in Rome. And that contains the treasury. So we're all left wondering, which god is that temple dedicated to? And could it be the one responsible for the Golden Rule? Unless somebody figures out a way inside, I suppose we'll never know. Of course.
I'll be going.
Nice to talk to you.
Okay, so you're a metal worker or a smith? You're a repairman, right? You literally just mentioned an accusatory note. A note insinuating that Virgil is a sinner. I know who you are and what you want. Turn away from this path before we all suffer for your sins. Yeah, he just has more of those. They might not see you yet, but I want you to know I see you. Virgil, do you really want us to be responsible? Do you really want to be responsible for the sin that destroys us all?
Salve.
Oh, those are the toilets. Communal public toilets. The holes must be designed for use with the sponge on a stick. A small stick with a sponge attached. This must be what the Romans used instead of toilet paper. It appears to be for communal use. Better to put it back immediately. Yeah, to be honest, probably if it's communal use. Well, somebody died on the shitter, which is probably one of the most embarrassing ways to go. Although there was also a guy in Pompeii that got killed while masturbating, and I think, like, I wonder, was it, like, did it catch him by surprise while he was doing that? Or did he notice what was going on with the volcano and just thought, I'm probably dying, and, you know, I might as well make my last moments be pleasurable. But regardless, this episode has been long enough, so I'm going to save, and I'll continue next time. That's all for this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.